what the halacha is. So if you are confused about the Gemara, welcome, because we have a lot of other people that unfortunately, for some reason or another, so this is the Mishnah and Daled almost page and the Gemara that follows thereafter. You're turning the page. That's the shot or page 28. The shot. Well, you got to start the other. Oh, you're gonna make it.
I know I'm doing it again. I keep turning it the same way.
Why don't you open the pages? No, I'm not trying to make.
I was sure the right side of the Gemara.
Those of us that are never to look at we get shamed, you know. Daled Amud Beis, you have the Mishnah, Matnisim. You have it on the bottom. Like I say, I'll read this. I'll read the Gemara and read the Rashi on it, and then perhaps some of the commentaries. People can take some Gemara. We've gone over it a couple of times already. It's not going in because there are several concepts here. See, we've been discussing up to now a running machlekes with Eliezer on one side. And see, we're concerned about a young Jewish girl that unfortunately has sex before marriage. Now we're discussing whether or not this sex prohibits her thereafter marrying a Kohen. Now that's some people are not aware of the fact that a Kohen can't marry any person. A Kohen by the Torah is restricted to marrying only certain types of Jewish girls. A Kohen cannot marry every girl, even though she may have a Jewish mother or a Jewish father. This may be a news to a lot of people, but of course everybody knows that a Kohen should not marry a Grusha. And we also have a question. A Zona is a woman that's been defiled by living with a type that is not kosher, that if he had children, could marry a Kohen. For instance, that would be a mamzer, all these types.
Neved would be a slave.
And, the status of an Eved family is very peculiar. But when he becomes an Eved, he has to go and have a Tefillah L'Shem, Abdi, and he is obligated to observe all the mitzvahs that each woman is obligated to observe. That means Eved Knani, not like you think Uncle Tom's Cabin, that even in the ancient times, because he's in this middle state.
So if he's like a Jewish woman, she could, if she wanted to.
She's Jewish, where
he's in the middle state. He becomes like a gear. Yes, that's right. So he's free. He's no longer talking about an Eved while he's still an Eved. All right. Now, knowing that, and we had a running like this say that we believe this young lady who she had sex with, and it was a type that didn't talk to her the truth. And he needs definite proof positive that in fact the one she lived with did not possible thereafter marrying her. Now we're talking all the time about a case where the young lady knew who she lived with. You understand? Now we're talking about a case where the young lady doesn't know. Now we have difficulty. That's what we're discussing. All right, read the Mishnah.
There was a situation that occurred with the girl that she went down to fill up for water from a well.
This implies a very young girl indeed, not a type of a girl that you would ordinarily associate with sexual intercourse. There's a very much difference. If she's old enough, she might have enough seichel able to identify who lived with her. This way she was never a very young, tender age.
There's a lot of women, there's women who get raped and they don't know who did it, the guy comes behind them. So does it really matter to change his name?
But, directly, anyway.
She was raped. Rabbi Yochanan, if the majority of the people of the city can marry a Kohen, if they're kosher, if their beer was kosher, so that they could go and then with their children be able to marry a Kohen. Meaning if they were of a kosher type, that if they had intercourse, then their children would then be able to marry Kohanim, the kosher, then the person would be able to marry a Kohen also.
A girl that was raped would also
come on. Rabbi Yochanan, who does he hold? Does he hold Rabbi Gamliel, or does he hold with Rabbi Yehoshua? Rabbi Gamliel says even if the majority of the people are fossil, they're not, their beer would go marry a Kohen. Nami Machsher, he would even say it's still okay. It would be okay even if the majority of people were fossil.
Yeah.
Because the girl.
She knows. He says
that because she has a chazaka. I learned that everything.
That's the way it is. All the years I was in Yeshiva, for 13 years, Tefillah in the first instance, afterwards, but first learned Rashi Shita, then after that you learn the other Shita.
Okay, so it says equally possible. Even if the majority, if we go according to Rabbi, even if the majority of the people are kosher, then she would still be possible because she would still be possible because he says.
Seeming to say, how many roads are we talking about?
One road.
Only one road. So if a Mishnah only means one road, then we have opinions on the subject. The Mishnah itself does not say two roads. Or will say that the Mishnah means two roads, even though the Mishnah doesn't say two roads. If we're talking about Bori, the sheet is here and it's Shrechlin. One is saying one thing, but I disagree with him. And then another one says another thing, and another one disagrees with him. And it really gets balled up because we're dealing with all giants who don't understand what in fact it means. But as long as we know that there are differences of opinion exactly what it means, so don't be upset if you don't quite get, if you don't have a clarification of it. We will try to do as best we can to try to understand some of them. Even see perhaps they might clarify a few of the ideas, and study it, and then we'll know that this one says this one says that. That's about all we can do.
Okay. So it says Omar Lay. So now Rav Nachman says to Rabbi, Hachi Omar Rav, the criminal shall Tzipori Hayamaisa. This thing occurred this action occurred where she was raped. It happened in the marketplace of Tzipori. There were people there who were not only from the city of Tzipori itself, but there were people that were there that were just passers-by who did business in the marketplace. So now, if we say that since we're saying now the majority of the city, we're not sure. See, the person who raped her could have either been a resident of the city, or it could have been one of the travelers, one of the passers-by who they used to come in caravans to the city to do business in the marketplace. So we're not sure which one it was.
Yes.
And she doesn't know who. Really, because the majority of the city isn't kosher.
So we're talking about, that's the thing. We're trying to see if there is more than one road that we can say is a possibility. What does this mean? Out of one of them, even Rabbi Yishmael will admit that we don't make a gezerah against that. Because say the probabilities are enough. Okay. It's very serious business because she is a victim. We don't want to answer her for ruin her future if it happens. And if we can possibly find a hefter, we're trying to do that. That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to be sudden and say, you're ruled out, forget it. And we're trying to find a hefter. This is the way a posik should do. We try to find heterim for Jewish people. Don't make their life miserable. You try to make it a little more so they can live with it. It's very important.
Okay. So now we're going to have a statement by Rabbi who says, okay, in this Mishnah we actually need another fact that goes into this Mishnah to make this Mishnah be the way of understanding it properly. We need to know another fact. Ukid Rabbi Ami, like Rabbi Ami says, the other Rabbi Ami says, that also in order to make her kosher, to marry a kohen, there would have to have been in the city not only a majority of the city that was kosher, but also a majority of the people that were traveling in the city also had to be kosher.
Yeah, so you have two possible sources of majorities that could have a factor in this particular incident.
That must have
There's only one man that had intercourse.
No, but you have to have both things.
They both have to be possible.
Right, at that time.
At the time.
Okay. So could the Rabbi Yanai and Rabbi Yanai, so if someone had relations in the wagons, the marketplace, then they would be kosher to kahuna. She would be kosher to bury a coin. The chronosakadaita, what's the question? If you're actually in the wagons, does it enter your mind to say actually in the wagons that she had to have relations, that she would be kosher to kahuna? Ella nivelas b'shas chronos. But that she had relations at the time the markets were in operation, were in effect. Then she'd be kosher Merikahuna because the majority of the people in the markets were kosher. The majority of the people in the city were kosher, and the majority of the people that passed by were kosher. So that's what it was at the time that the marketplace was going on. Ava perish echad mitzipori. Now we have a thing that says if one of the perish echad mitzipori. But if one of them separated Pitzipori or Boel and he had relations, Havolad Shtuki, then the child would be considered a Shtuki because
But there's another factor. If we know definitely he came from the city, We already eliminate the possibility of coming from the traveler. If we do not know
What is it?
that if a young man, he's not the daddy, one of the city of Florida.
I was wrong. I used the wrong thing. It was actually, that was the one. I used the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You understand?
Only if we do not know where this man came from.
If he came from the Sia, then he's 90. But I thought it says here, it says Idika Azli, if he went by her. But if he was traveling, wouldn't he be 90?
Appreciate that factor, but once you eliminate either road,
so the thing is,
you're compromising the position.
So the reason it's a shtuki is because there was only one road was taken into consideration.
That's right.
So since we only have one road, we're going to go and parcel it because there's not enough there to make a judgment to master it because Mala is abusive.
We are very particular to the genealogical purity.
Oh, Bear, she travels. She travels. And when there was like a caravan of people, so B'nai Adam, of people, ksherim, that were kosher, Overis L'Shem, passing there. They had passing by, they had a
two separate roads at the same. We don't have to know, which is better. In fact, we know, that messes it. What we don't know makes it more possible that there's a possibility.
Yeah.
And we can give an action.
Okay, so the vote shtuki is because there's only one Chanina. There's two versions. One says that Rav Dimi says in the name of Rav Chanina. Another version says that Ziri said this in the name of Rav Chanina. Okay, we go according to the majority of the city. And we don't go according to the majority of the travelers passing by. So the more asks question, Klapi Laya. It would let me get this. This is the hard part starts here. Klapi Laya. Why are you now? Why do you have to now say that we go according to one and we don't go according to the other? We were just saying that we need both of them. Yeah. And now why are you doing it?
And why are you emphasizing after the roll of the ear when the roll of the ear is much more suspected than the roll of the feet? It's called the portion of Ruba Forest. And the roll of the ear is Kavua,
how you
getting lost what is an idea.
The way you got into it, it was like you said it so fast that I'd be thinking there for an hour. We get lost. We kind of got lost in that. I think if I speak
concepts, we'll learn this right now. One is that what are you turning around here? Turning around. What are you turning around? What are your arguments of opposite? Liar. What are you turning around? What is your basis for your argument? Tiny 90. In the case of the ropes idol, they're traveling. And when you're traveling, we say, if there's a traveling, there's a movement of a majority of kosher and a minority of fossil. We say if one of that moving body separates, we assume it's from the majority moving.
And the majority were kosher.
Well, majority. But on the other hand, if you say, you're talking about tiny, this is fixed and standing, and this big men of the city, and so it's the concept of fixed, kamaxamoxidoni. We consider those 50% even though it may be 99% in relation to 1, to be 90 probability, and it's a fixed thing, and there's no separation from the map. We say no, and we go more strict.
But now we say that we go according to the majority of the city. And that's when the majority of the travelers that are also in the city, the majority of the travelers that are kosher are in the city.
No, also present at the time when this occurred. So there could be two majority.
In the city.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said.
Yeah, but it's still like this. We go after the majority of the city. And we didn't say anything further. When you say a growing majority city, then you're saying you only have one majority. And that doesn't make sense. So we have to clarify what we're saying. Yeah.
So they're saying we go according to the majority of the travelers that are in the city, that are in it. Meaning you need two majorities. No, meaning you have both things together.
If both factors are possible together.
Yeah. Then we go according to the rope ha'ir.
Yes. But if they're separated enough, so it could be either the one or the other, then
okay, but do we master then this? If it's a rope ha'ir, okay, that's when the majority of the people are with it, meaning that they have both things at the same time.
Yes.
So we don't go according to the majority of the city alone, so we don't go according to the majority of the travelers alone. What's the reason that we don't go according to the majority of the city alone?
No,
the majority of the travelers alone? Just according to the majority of the travelers. Gzera Rov Sia Atu Rov Ir. That it's a gzera, it's a decree that that we go according to the majority of the city because of the majority.
Against just the one rove of Sayo, because of the fact that we make it.
Since we're making gzera against the rov of the ear, we also make gzera against the rov of the city.
We're saying
so we also don't go according to the rov Sia. So we also don't go according to the rov Sia.
Of the situation where it would be the only case, certainly is more suspect than the rov Sayo alone.
Okay.
But we don't make even maksher by the rov Sayo alone because we don't permit the rov ear.
The way I understand it, okay. The way I understand it is, see, we're going to say that we don't go according to the majority of the travelers, which is more possible that we can understand to go for them because of the rov ear. So we don't go according to just the rov Saya alone. We need both things.
We've gone over this now as the third time. That's the whole problem. You should not be upset if you don't understand something.
Well, I do.
You know, and after we finish this Eric, the beginning of Eric Shale's finger, it requires you to know all. You got to know it by Alpad and all to me from the beginning of Eric. Oh. So, I know nobody ever did it, but I remember many years ago when in my hearing, I can't remember this, and it was perfectly legitimate. We were learning many hours, and I'm a lawyer as well, so I looked up the law, see the federal authority. They said you don't have to worry, only hours and everything. So I looked up the law. There was a case. So I put it over on the other side.
Oh, you turn it upside down.
I put it on the other side. So I wrote to the federal authorities. Okay. I got a hearing that our school was perfectly legitimate, and I found that there was one case that came up to the federal division on one side, and a school having 16 hours a week was not considered a full-time school. So I told my committee, I looked up the law, and I know it is. When I first started my yeshiva, after I graduated, got sniffed for a couple of years, year and a half. Then it sort of petered out, and he says, Rabbi, at that time, the day was on, and get up there, and Yishmael every night, I would never have to learn after. Okay, go ahead. And when you have a big yeshiva, then you have a tremendous time, but you have a person that cannot be necessarily condemned. I mentioned many people that the sentence became sadistic. And you don't have to feel yourself. It says you have to start for yourself. It happened that of course two possible. There have to be both these majorities possibly in relation to this possible incident.
Except one majority of the city also, it wouldn't be good.
It won't be good.
It won't be good. If he's the one that's going to Kabul, he's going by her. Okay, so he's moving by her. Porish, Meruba Porish. Then presumably whoever separates, he separates from the majority. No, he's moving. He's going by her because if he's moving, he's going by her for Kviyah. I just say right now, but that's not necessarily what it is. But that's what it presumably means when it's it's necessary. It's necessary to say it's necessary. What's it?
Rabbi, it could be the other way around.
It's necessary to say what?
There's a possibility that it didn't occur.
What's necessary? It's just
right there. That shows where you can find the halacha in the various codes.
Okay, so it's necessary. Why? Because she's going by him. She's going to Gabayah by him. If he was going by her, he'd be 90. He'd be moving. He's not in the same place. He'd be moving. But if she goes by him, it's Kabul. He's in one place. Kamatsa Matzadami. Whoever's stationary he's happy. It's 50-50 chance.
We don't, even if the relationship is a 99 to 1, we consider it like 50.
Panuyos. We have 9 stores, 9 butcher shops. 9 of them sell shechted meat. 1 sells unkosher meat.
From virtually slaughtered.
And he bought from one of them, Be'er Yodeya. He doesn't know which of them he bought it from.
If he took it from one of the butchers, that's out. You make a extra when you take it out from the kavua. Yeah. Now, what if instead of it was taken out from the shop by him, one of the butcher shops, instead of that happened, it must have gone out by somebody else's thing. It happened. The nitza. What if he found the wrapped piece of meat on the street? You didn't find it in one of the books.
The majority.
There we go for the majority, because there's already a priest already separated from the majority. Now it's anything that separates the majority. You didn't cause the separation, then this other factor goes into consideration.
Okay. So you would consider that kosher?
Not necessarily, because of other issues. Thing that if you don't have siman on the package to indicate that it's kosher, we still can't eat the meat because it's of the. If you don't see the meat at all times, it's like it's hidden from your eye and you can't eat it. We'll do it instead of washing it, or it's got to be in a safe place. If you want to say, we're talking about a case where the doors of the state were not closed. In other words, we can have another road have operation on this particular case. But so all majority from the outside world, in other words, all the doors are open, and so therefore they're not closed.
Then meaning there's only one road.
Is that right?
If the doors are closed, meaning then it's only the Kesuvos in the city. It doesn't make sense because it's only the Kesuvos in the city, then we're matzo dummy. So why would he say even in that case? It wouldn't seem because in the city there's more showers because there is matzo. So why didn't he say Apa Pishmael also be of sin? Oh, the people in the Medina are Kesuvos. We're not talking about the meat, we're talking about people. Now we're going back to the case of the coin.
Wait.
We're not up there yet. You're too far.
We're not there.
Might also be of sin. Proof is next thing. So if we're saying even though the doors of the state are closed, and then we're saying that the people in there are also be of sin. In the walls of the city. It's cool, and that's matzo. So then that doesn't really make sense to me.
I know, that's a little difficult, and one of the courses. And we're going to start you show. What does it mean? Well, caravan of people that go there come from other places. But if the caravan is from the city itself, it's only called one road. If you have majority of the city, but one part of the city is staying in their house, and another city is traveling to this market. There's still only one road.
That's also...
No, because everything is in the cloud of the Risham Rerubi, my Zero, Pirish. And the road is Pirish, even if we know it was a separation from the majority of the city, also, even though we really can't hang on, well, we still maksher this young lady. They didn't make a gezerah when there were two roads operating at the time. Not for over years. This is we say in the Gemara, the city. Well, only if there is also a majority of the caravan with it. So even Koshi, he Alechas Etzlam, any case where she goes by them, it would be a case of Kavura, Maksudami, and like half and half, and it would be, we see from here we don't make it Maksud. Other people in the city, sometimes it happens she comes by. There's another group of this opinion, you shouldn't learn this language that she goes by them.
So what are you talking about?
We could say there is possibility that she could have gone by them. Over Shas Karamos, either it was not at the time of the market, there's only one road, or I don't agree with them that forced her to get divorced.
Okay, let me clarify a couple things. You're confused also as you can't look at it, so you can't really understand it by just hearing it when you should. Okay, the other thing is, now I got a statement. First of all, he says we're not talking about, we may not be talking where it was at the marketplace, but the Gemara gives us the fact it was at the time of the marketplace. So then you're changing the terminology, and obviously going to come up with a different, if it's not time of the marketplace, then it wouldn't be kosher, then Gemara goes, it was at the time of the coast. Now, the second thing, what would you just, you said the question, I wanted to say.
In the back of the Shas Gemara, the nation food, you go there, that's fine. That would be, that's the text. That would be direction, wrong direction. Right here. Into Yeshiva in Spain in the middle 1000. And it was one of the and when Rabbi opened the Yeshiva in Spain, the period in Babel had already stopped. Everybody agreed now. He codified it, he wrote an early type of Shulchan Aruch. Rabbi stopped, and the Rim Megash in the I know anyway, let's go. An accident of a little girl at the time of the fair. The time when there was a caravan of Bnei was pushed for over a year, a majority of the city, majority of the caravan, the same Yechusah. And this is the halacha. Alright? This Masakos is read. Verily, it appears to me, we shouldn't depend upon it. He's not going to make a decision. And then we'll learn the and we'll have seekers all over the place, and all giants. And later on, the Gemara says that it was just a temporary expedient, that it was a temporary extra, a temporary. We made this. You had to have two